you know, it's really interesting, this whole new world that we're heading to, whether in science, AI, and incorporating that into our lives. In medicine, I think we're going to be inundated with AI all over within a period of, say, 10 to 20 years. And the practice of medicine is going to change a lot, especially in primary care.
It's already affecting the admin work.
Absolutely.
Paperwork, they're just anything that you can do to pass the buck on paperwork in any industry.
In any industry. Yeah, but what I was referring to is from a diagnostic standpoint. So now you can have a medical assistant, a nurse, get someone's data, and maybe you have labs and genetics already in there. And now the system will guide you through a really more narrow differential diagnosis. So you don't have to waste a lot of time on useless tests and say, this is what you got to get, and these are it, and you have a diagnosis that day.
Yeah, in the 60s, they had that idea. It was called the tricorder. Remember from Star Trek?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you pop that in a drone, now you got remote healthcare.
Yeah, that'll happen. And I think the remote, and it will be far more personalized medicine, customized, or as is using genomics and individualized characteristics that can be inputted by the patient themselves or from a prior database. And lastly, customized treatment plans in accordance to your genetics. That's here and around the corner.
So with this exciting world that we're talking about, we thought it would be perfect to bring our next guest. So hi, everybody. This is the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, Davio Venturas. Once again, as always, we have the illustrious cardiologist, Dr. Federico Macy, also known as Dr. Suave, and we're very excited to have
some circles only.
The guest we have today, who's going to talk to us about the intersection of futurism, AI, and pistachios. So please, everybody, welcome Raj Udeshi to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Heard a lot about you wanting to support.
Yes, great to have you here. So you have an amazing story, an interesting story. Not long ago, I suppose, I saw you as a patient. You had, a little bit of exacerbation because of COVID.
You're violating confidence.
Yes, I understand. You mean to COVID. But so, your history, we started talking about other things, and your story goes from across how many continents now? 3?
I guess so.
You've lived in 3 different continents, right?
Yeah. It's not so much about geography as it is, you want to be like Forrest Gump in life, where people give you an opportunity, you hear that, you listen to it, and you don't say no.
No. Yes, of course. So I know you are born in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm an Indian kid from Chicago. A lot of people think I'm the Indian Ferris Bueller.
Yes,
I don't tell them no.
Nice.
It's an easy way to explain who I am. I started out there. I grew up a Midwest kid, and I went to Northwestern for college and did my time in New York afterwards. And after 9/11, I thought I'd go to law school, so I did. I jumped to the West Coast. Had a career back on Wall Street.
Did you ever think about just staying in law?
I did. I tried like anything to get a clerkship, and I did work in the Ninth Circuit for a bit for a judge called Alex Kaczynski. I got fired on the second day.
Kaczynski?
Yeah.
That Kaczynski?
That guy, yeah.
Wow.
He was the dream and kind of teed people up to the Supreme Court. And something happened the second day. And
his first name wasn't Ted.
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah, he's history now. 14 years later, on my birthday, and just after 14 years, basically to the day he fired me, he had to step down from the judiciary.
Why did he fire you?
He was the judicial poster child for Me Too.
Oh.
He had a bunch of stuff on his computer. He had at least
offensive.
He had like 8 women come after him, previous clerks,
right?
And then he denied it. I think the next day 7 more. So
he
a lot.
Yes, he had written his own demise.
Yeah, way more than Bill Clinton. And so
wow.
Do you ever stop and think if you had pursued that, how different your life would be? Because I think you have a much cooler.
Yeah, I'd be a mediocre lawyer. I'd be a lawyer working for somebody else. I mean, think about this. It's not only that being a appellate lawyer, which I still respect.
Right.
All those things. It's academia and law for the greater good. And for the good of the nation.
A lot of research.
Making rules.
Well, yeah.
And it's not only that the appellate lawyer career fell apart. It's also that the entire judiciary is falling apart. We're a one-issue country,
Yeah.
We're just stand on or fall on abortion. I mean, there's other things to talk about.
Absolutely.
It's hilarious how
that's an important
far we've
one,
been
but we
held
have so
back
many.
in this country
Yeah.
by a couple issues that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So then you leave that.
Yeah,
What did you do next? So tell us.
I chased a girl back to New York. Since the clerkship didn't exactly happen, I probably applied to 100 judges and got really close. I was always the runner-up, Miss Runner-Up.
Right. I see.
And I held it in
You
my
should have worn shorter skirts in the interviews.
Hey, it was a Me Too movement.
Yeah, but it was way before that.
Right.
This is the early 2000s. I hung my head high and went to Wall Street for a while. Worked in Latin American, finance and kind of emerging markets trading and broking, all that world. It was really fun until the financial crisis, and then I lost my job.
Is that what opened your mind to the emerging collective that we're going to talk about later?
I mean, that's an amalgamation of things. Definitely,
Yeah.
that took me to Latin America. I've been going to India my whole life, and everywhere in between. But I'm not really binary Indian or American, or I'm kind of like an emerging markets Marco Polo.
Yeah. You're international.
Yeah, it's
You fit in anywhere.
yeah. But the emerging markets definitely, that's where good art was coming from. That was kind of a give back on my part, the nonprofit.
We'll talk about it at the end because I think that's very important. And
Okay. Yeah, as you like.
so then you started your company at this point, right?
I lost my job in the financial crisis and kind of lost an engagement. And then, basically the phoenix rising out of its ashes. One of my best friends, that August of 2009, he came to me with an idea and said, look, do you want to start a macro hedge fund type thing? And it was just not happening because of the Madoff stuff made raising money
Very
really
difficult.
difficult.
Yeah.
And so, there was a software idea in there, and he's an MIT double degree guy. And so he thought in that way, and we knew what the multiples were on tech kind of rising. I wasn't going to make a social media app, which was really popular then, photo apps, especially.
Right.
Facebook was still private. And so, FinTech, it wasn't a word yet. And so we started looking at what we do, risk analytics, portfolio analytics, and, helping make trading decisions, helping make, could be a light Bloomberg. And we started going after that. And a year later, it started getting prettier, and a lot of advisors, investment advisors, asked for it. And they asked for their logo to be put on some sort of PDF report. I'm like, really?
Sort of like a white label for them.
A white
on your
label for
stuff.
them on analysis, and kind of using it to convince new
Investors.
customers
Yeah.
to come their way or keep investors.
Right.
At that time, you really had the wake of the financial crisis, and people couldn't put together how housing might cause a big banking crisis. Same
Right.
way, just in the past few weeks, you couldn't put together how rising rates and kind of really hanging out your bank and your deposits to dry, investing in startup tech companies
Crypto.
might lead to a banking crisis,
Right.
your whole bank going down. So connecting the dots for people visually and quantitatively at the same time, and not hitting them over the head with like 60 pages of pros analysis, but something almost like Vice made financial analysis.
Yeah. So something concrete that was
Something really
Easy to
easy and
visualize.
kind of edgy,
Right.
right?
So-
Instead of talking about Fed raises rates, we called that scenario, we called it Fed shock therapy.
Right.
We had a picture of Uncle Sam getting defibrillation,
right as we
Like
have
something-
today, another one of those.
So who was the one that
Earlier this week.
came up with the war room idea? And
The War Room was it was necessary actually. So we had
What was the
economic
genesis of that?
software, an economic analysis software, and above that, a macro analysis research shop, right? And just like Netflix, you have the content for free, and you're paying for the platform. So same with us, a SaaS platform in FinTech. But I think it was summer of 2011, and we were in a similar place to now with the debt ceiling shenanigans, and it really came to blows. And that game of chicken led Standard & Poor's to downgrade United States treasuries, the debt. And that was really out of left field. And so people ran into treasuries, driving down yields, which is kind of predictable. You still jump into a lifeboat, even if I tell you it's really leaky. You're still going to jump in if the Titanic's going down.
Correct, yeah.
And so people jumped in, so that was kind of predictable. But equities on in those days kind of took a huge haircut, and bonds stayed relatively strong. And so
Right.
coming into this, that might rhyme. Who knows? But we got that right, and people needed.
So that was a big step that you guys got that right. That really built
Right,
us
but we also
credibility.
got it right live in a forum like this. But at that time, we didn't think to do a podcast. It was webinars. We had an audience of maybe 300 to 500.
Financial advisors?
Financial advisors, usually some asset managers, because they're looking for intelligence that isn't just about talking their book. If we've just got a software platform to sell, we don't really have financial products to sell. So we're not going to talk our book. And
So that gave you a credibility.
exactly.
And by talking your book, you mean, for the people, a lot of these people aren't in the fintech world. By talking your book, you mean?
I might have financial products to sell you. I'm going to try to make those look good, right? And so for
Kind of like T. Boone Pickens always thought natural gas was going higher.
sure, yeah, you still see that.
Yeah.
How many analyses do you see talking about Russia, Ukraine, and natural gas going higher, oil going higher? Today oil's under $70,
Right.
way below where it was during that war, any time before the war, even. So it's kind of funny.
So that gave you credibility when that happened. And
Yeah, and we started the war room with that because people needed kind of an emergency session. Also, right earlier that year, we did one on the Japan nuclear crisis. Fukushima
Oh, yeah.
had that big accident, and so people were really worried about what's going to happen to the yen, what's going to happen to uranium, so the immediate impacts. And so that triggered us needing to go on the air, and then we started doing it every month. We did it every month for 11 years. It was amazing. Pretty solid franchise.
And
then
was-
it would also keep our scenario really fresh. We started making a good, bad, and ugly version of it so that people weren't thinking that we're trying to be Nostradamus, but very much an economic analysis shop made for the millennium.
With
And the
some-
millennials,
with hope
younger
built
people.
into it. A little hope built into it. those-
Not really. Good, bad, ugly, and then sometimes black swans. The thing that's highly improbable but possible.
Like in
So
heaven.
So when you
put
say
the black swan in the box.
when you say you had a stress test model, I think that's the question that Fred has. So you guys were, what do you mean by a stress test model? And
I was
talk
just
us a little
thinking
bit
of that
about
question. Yes.
So we stress tested portfolios, and a lot of
like
it was
people's
based on-
investment portfolios.
So you could put stocks and bonds and ETFs in there. You could hold real estate, individual properties that were aligned to Zillow on valuation, or
Oh, and it would link to that.
correct.
That's great.
Or even private funds or non-traded assets where you would have a time data series that depicted the value history, or NAV. Sometimes it's called in mutual
Right.
fund land. Yeah, just basically any security that has a time data series, even your income, and kind of stress test it against different scenarios. A scenario was
See what
just
would happen.
what was a set of movements in economic indicators, what we call the levers. So the company's called hidden levers.
Right.
We may have gotten the idea of the name for this podcast subconsciously from the name of your war rooms.
A little bit.
It's okay.
So you could look at your-
beg, borrow, and steal to get it done, guys.
The diversity of what you were invested in against a variety of different scenarios
Correct.
over time.
Right,
and make
for
decisions.
for the advisor, their job wasn't to knock you over the head with 60 scenarios. It was probably to take 3 or 5 talking points and raise what your concerns were, maybe dismiss those, show you what really counts,
Right.
and then kind of get your buy-in. Maybe win the new business. Maybe if you're split between a few advisors, bring over that wallet share, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So really, we became very much a client-facing tool, and
You were
something that was
influencing.
client-facing decisions.
Yes.
It was a paintbrush, right?
Right.
That was our tagline. It's like there's plenty of calculators in fintech. There's one paintbrush.
Yeah, interesting.
And the response from the advisors, because they're dealing with the clients, must have been overwhelming.
Yeah, we had about 600 shops at the end. We sold after 11
We
years.
put MDMA in that, by the way.
Oh yeah, wouldn't be my first time.
Anyways,
After 11
So-
years?
you were in Atlanta-based
We
company.
were in between New York and Atlanta. We moved the shop to Atlanta as we started growing there. Tech talent is more humble there and less priced. That's that easy.
Right.
And also Atlanta started becoming a fintech hub. We were one of the people there. Riskalyze, which is a competitor in some respects.
And did you also-
BlackRock, a competitor in some respects. So
Didn't you also take advantage of the new real estate laws that Trump pushed through when you moved to Atlanta? Wasn't that part of it, the thought as well?
No, it was my co-founder was there always. He
Oh.
never left Atlanta. Just honestly, our team started growing there. My head of biz dev moved there because of in-laws, and that was like, that's a magic place for you to move. Out of all the cities out of New York you can move to, he was pretty early. You know, that New York Atlanta exodus, or New York Texas, New York Florida. That he was early to that, probably 2013. You know,
And so what
and
happened
I became that too, moving to Texas.
as you grew? And
Yeah, we were a team of about 27 at our heaviest, and always bootstrapped. That's one of the things that my co-founder and I are really proud of. We never raised money. I'm not that good at it. Maybe I could do it now with an exit under my belt.
Right.
But we never really cared for it. We really wanted to climb El Capitan, not Mount Everest, and
Right,
El Capitan
right.
with our own bare hands.
Yes.
We called that
was the name?
free solo FinTech.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
our-
that's great. That's a great idea.
What's the name of that kid that did it on the
I don't know.
Netflix
Yeah.
documentary?
Yeah, exactly. He was
With his
inspiring
own-
to
yeah.
me. You know,
Impressive.
where can I get to without the shackles of venture capital
Right.
and without the, all the gear?
Yeah.
Where can I get
Well,
to?
you put in all the work before, so you were, like he says,
Yeah,
I
we
don't
took all
get
the-
anxious, I don't get nervous.
The main thing was it forces me to turn a profit.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the kind of the pandemic abyss. A lot of that was, the big jump. It feels like you're going up, and then you're going into a crater because you've got no income. You got no
Right.
profits.
Right.
So for
Isn't it
us,
funny how the markets didn't care about profits, and then they all of a sudden one
Yeah.
day they did?
yeah, I mean, you can't chase what's there for a minute. The backbone of the American economy was always about your P&L. Show me your income.
Right.
There's been, of course, since 1982 and the Reagan Revolution and the 401k and all these people just starting to pay attention in the middle classes or upper middle class to markets and equities. But, business, small business, we were in our 30s when we started, and we had both come from the dot-com era. So we had scars. But we said,
Right.
okay, let's protect the small business. And if we become a big deal, then we do.
So you became a big deal. How long did it take you to sell?
It was about an 8 to 9 month gestation. We had an investment bank, PJT,
That
They're internationally known investment bank, and they kind of shopped us around. And we had some great suitors, and we went with a company called Orion, based in Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah,
Nice.
and then
So
how
that
did-
exit was what year?
it was March 2021, 2 years ago, right now.
Oh, 2021.
So how did you pivot to pistachios? What was tell me the genesis of that idea?
There's a kind of a friend and his father, their families in the pistachio business, and I'd always been into ag pursuits, kind of as a everybody wants a second house, right? A summer house. For me, though, I didn't want a cost center in my life. I don't want a money pit. That
Right.
whole concept to me, it didn't ring true. And so, a house in the Hamptons would be fantastic. And I always passed on that when it was my chance. I got close in 2007 before the financial crisis, and then again, I guess I could have done it after the exit. It was just a cost center. You can enjoy it 3 months a year, and kind of maybe it's a status symbol, like so many things are.
Right.
For the top 1%. But for me, it's like a status symbol. For me, is this thing cost neutral, or is this thing cash flow positive?
Yes.
Then you're talking.
Yeah.
Then you're talking, and so
You sleep better at night.
yeah, for sure.
So why pistachios? What was the
So originally it was going to be a dairy farm. I think I'd gone to the Ben and Jerry's factory in Vermont, and they said this magic thing. There's about 30 farms in Vermont and New Hampshire, and we buy all our milk from them, and all their milk goes to us. It's an exclusive relationship. It's monogamy of milk giving, right?
That's exactly how they put it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, we're monogamous with
Right.
about 30 farms. Probably way more now that they're owned by Unilever. But the point is that farmer didn't have to worry about their biz dev. And I came from a world where all I did is front office, biz dev. I got to worry about the next sale, who's in my CRM, how many leads I got.
CRM?
Like a Salesforce or big Rolodex in the digital world. So I was always worried about that. I'm like, how good would it be? How much better would I sleep at night, to use your language, Freddie, if I already had my customer and it was done. I'm just
Right.
doing the job. The product dev,
It's pre-sold.
yeah, it's pre-sold.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about that.
So you had an opportunity in the ag business with the
So
pistachio.
I thought I'd do that, but then cows and poo and livestock. It's a lot, and it's out of my wheelhouse. And
Right.
I wanted a connection to my culture. I am Indian, and so milk and dairy is very much a part of that. And it was cool. I mean, I thought about trying to contact the Shabani folks. They were up in upstate New York. I looked up to that guy. He's a Kurdish refugee, from Iraq. So he's a huge success story, and now really making ripples in that economy. And it's also he's revered by white people. A Kurdish guy, a brown
Amazing.
guy that's like speaking in front of in Albany in the Congress. So it's like,
Intelligence comes from everywhere.
exactly. But yogurt
Hard
intelligence comes from the Kurdish mountains of Iraq.
There you go.
For sure.
For sure. That's key. Right.
Yeah. So I thought, well,
That's
what
amazing.
are other things that I'm connected to? Almonds, maybe pistachios. That always really sung to me,
Right.
Because it's part of our culture. I'm from the part of India that's kind of just below the Himalayas,
Right.
Mediterranean climates, and right around Iran. That's where pistachios come from, and it's like synonymous with those cultures. And so for me, that was something that I started learning about during law school, just from a friend and a family. And I said, if I make it big one day, I'd do that. And then
So
as a tech
not
money,
a winery like many. I'm kidding.
at that time I was a teetotaler still. I didn't drink at
right.
that time.
No, but
Yeah, I mean,
It's one of
there's-
those things that,
you go to a vineyard. Sorry,
Right, a
it's
vineyard.
beautiful, right?
Right.
It's absolutely beautiful. But you go to a wine store or you go to the grocery store and you look at the wines. I mean, it's really hard to stand out.
No,
Right, of course.
And
Yes.
who stands out? Do we really think the Snoop Dogg wine is the best wine? No, but it does stand out. Or maybe the name Coppola. These aren't correlated at all with the best wine.
with the quality. Yeah.
Maybe
Right.
the prices, maybe even that isn't.
But
Sometimes.
they're
But
big
pistachios, there's definitely one that's the best. And for us, that's I started investing in someone else's pistachio farm probably maybe 7 years ago. Learned the ropes. I thought it's a pretty big learning curve, especially going from architecting a tech platform and
Coming up with war rooms, scenarios.
economic analysis. But it was great. We looked at it as P90X for your brain.
Yeah.
I would go to the annual kind of pistachio growers.
I remember.
meetings, wonderful a host kind of an annual shareholders meeting or growers meetings. And so I started doing that and really learning the
whole
P&L,
A to Z,
the accounting. I already was fluent in Spanish, so that helped. You don't want to get ripped off by the people who work there. And then also, you want to communicate with them. You want to enjoy their company. And so, especially being an Indian working with Latin workers, it was excellent at the beginning because it was a totally different relationship than they would have with some white plantation owner or something.
No doubt. So tell me, for those of us who don't know, you plant a pistachio tree.
Yeah.
How long till it starts to produce if everything goes right?
So what you do is you graft it onto another tree that's going in from the nursery. So it gives it more heft. Just a bunch of reasons. Usually, when you're growing permanent crops, you graft it on, kind of maybe 1 year in, something like that.
Right.
Maybe 6 months in. Depends, but it takes 6 years to produce the first nut.
Wow.
6 years.
And then year 15, they're really mature. So
So at 6 years,
there's a big waiting period. for
huge
sure.
investment.
Yeah, and 6 years isn't going to get you flush. It's just the first nuts, and then
How-
somewhere between year 8 and 10, you're going to get to break even on that tree.
How many years do the trees produce?
Up to over 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And are the yields pretty consistent for a time, or do they increase, or what's the curve
Yeah,
on
you
the
could
yields?
you can imagine that it produces. It's like the economic output of a human, right? We're going to be living till 100, probably, especially millennials, and until you're 15, you're not really.
They are eating a lot of
contributing.
fast food, these millennials.
Oh, they are.
I'm not
Sorry.
sure they're going to make it.
That's another episode.
Yes, well, that's right.
It is.
It's part of it. But,
Yeah, well, so I mean, there's plenty of unhealthy boomers, and they're still alive. So I figure 100's going to be the age to
But
shoot.
the boomers got to eat healthy the first 40 years of their
Oh
life.
yeah. Well, so speaking of eating healthy, that's where pistachios really meant something
Absolutely.
to me. You know, so drinking milk, I have a 2-year-old, and the baby's mother is constantly about milk. You know, it's the goal of every day, right? Before it came from her, now it comes from a goat or a cow, but it's still about the milk. And so that meant something to me. I think it's something important. Forget all the woke politics around not milk and vegans. God bless them. But to me, milk is like a complete meal. And so that was the reason to do it. It provides real nourishment. And so pistachios, too, are something that I can get behind. You know, I'm not growing soybeans. I'm not growing wheat and corn and, kind of land investing around questionable things or hugely subsidized things. These are specialty crops, very much coming from California, and pistachios. You know, it's a superfood. It's tons of antioxidants, and it's a superfood. And so if I'm creating that, there's, to me, especially coming out of the tech company, and I guess I could retire, but it's about creating nutrition and creating good karma for myself and my legacy.
So tell us a little bit.
Pistachios are part of that.
Tell us a little bit, Fred, as a cardiologist, where do pistachios rank? Is that something that you would recommend to your clients? Like, tell us.
Absolutely. It's, as was correctly said.
Sorry, not clients, patients.
Patients, yeah. Great snack. Great
You're a pistachio dealer.
Great content of antioxidants that scavenge the oxygen radicals that destroy cell membranes and that accelerate the aging process. And they are great for our blood vessels. They actually help dilate.
How many pistachios does somebody have a day on average?
1 ounce to 2 ounces. 1 ounce is 6 grams. They're an amazing source of plant proteins, and they are very filling. So for my diabetic, pre-diabetic patients, or those wishing to lose weight, they're a great snack a couple of times a day. You know, a handful.
You get the umami, you get the fillingness, and
the fiber.
I call it. This is my own concept. There's this idea that when I'm wealthy, I want to consume a luxury protein. Protein in general is a luxury, right?
Absolutely.
But a luxury protein. So to me, there's two. The top of that totem pole of protein, it's filet mignon, right? Or really high-end meat, or really high-end nuts, right? There's definitely a totem pole of nuts.
Of protein, yeah.
I love Mr. Peanut. You know, I won't say no at a ball game, but there's a...
So
if you're having whiskey,
a burger at the ballpark, not exactly the the pinnacle of protein.
It's a nice experience.
Yes.
But there's one or two kind of nuts you're going to have with a single malt Scotch, with a Japanese Scotch. It's going to be pistachios, maybe macadamia.
Absolutely,
maybe. And so,
or those special when they have the seasoning on the truffle on the almonds, those are good too.
Yeah,
but only with the truffle. That's the only way they can.
We know what you like,
and for those,
but think about what you did to get there, right? That's luxury
luxury protein.
And so for me, part of this push on
fairly
pistachios,
well priced for what you're getting. That's the price point is affordable.
Depends. Some people say they're expensive. Some people say they're cheap. It depends. It just depends.
Most grocery stores have them at a
It's much cheaper than a filet mignon.
No doubt.
Right? But guess what? It's also much cheaper from Mother Earth.
No doubt.
Right?
That's
if you
the
have
other part.
the Chinese, forget Indians. We know that economy is coming up, but a lot of them are vegetarian, and if they're eating meat, they're not wailing on beef, right?
No.
They're not hoarding beef.
Correct.
Right? So
and they shouldn't.
It's part of it's just part of their framework.
Right.
So I'm not really worried about it. Right. But I am worried, as the Chinese level up in the global economy, and they're kind of a force economically.
No doubt.
Then
they eat 2/3 of pork on the planet.
Sure. Yeah, but they're consuming more Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
Right? They're consuming other luxury
high-end consumer goods.
Travel. Right. And of course they're going to want more beef. Beef is the luxury meat.
Yes.
Right? And so if they identify the luxury protein as pistachios, that might be sustainable.
No doubt.
That might be sustainable compared to them eating beef like Americans or like Germans even.
No doubt. And on the health part of it, apart from improving what we call endothelial function, and we've talked about that in this podcast.
Everybody drink. He said the word endothelium.
Nitric oxide, right? So they do help with erectile dysfunction.
There's a few words he says every episode that people drink.
Yes, we have to.
Wait, pistachios help with
erectile function, yes.
Really?
Yes, they do.
I did not.
Middle-aged man, absolutely. And
That's a whole
of
ad
course,
campaign.
because they have a low glycemic index and the right fats, not only, as was mentioned already, you become fuller quicker, but they don't have the insulin spike. So you don't tend to store
it's
fat.
not a sugary thing.
Right.
It's basically
So-
a protein pellet, and it tastes
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
Even raw, it tastes good.
You
Now
add
have
it
a
to
bunch
salads
of flavors.
and, to a variety of other products, right?
Yeah.
Not just a
Oh
simple
no!
snack.
So in terms of who I partner with, I do have my choice in terms of people ask me all the time. You have this much acreage of pistachio. Would you process it yourself and put your own brand out there? And it's like, well, no. The Yankees are right there. The
Right.
wonderful
They're-
folks are. I mean, they didn't just hit a home run with the no shell. They hit a grand slam, and so consumption of pistachios. They're really helping us create the demand.
And they've been in business, 75 years?
I'd say 1988,
Well, since 88. Okay.
yeah,
I thought
the
it was, they
80s.
were there before.
late 80s.
So that's not bad, almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And is it like you were considering the dairy because the monogamous relationship? Is that like that? All your products going to be?
Yeah, I have that with Wonderful. We're exclusive with them. They buy all. If and we are ramping up. The pistachio J curve is exactly that. It's exponential. Double last year until between year 6 and 15. It starts really ramping up. And so, guess what? I know I'll have the same buyer, and I'm thankful for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like those ice cream or milk buyers in their
just
ice
for-
cream.
Exactly.
Right? Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's, yeah. Having that
Similar
feature,
concept.
now that I'm kind of in my extra innings, I would call it, biz dev is not something I want to worry about.
Right.
I'm really interested in creating a good product, and I'm interested in creating a super farm.
Absolutely.
Now my pursuits are not just P&L related with the maximizing profit from pistachios. It's more about can I create a some sort of demonstration project that shows the world what the best, most kick-ass farm could look like. Where
So
it's,
give us that
where Mother
concept.
Nature herself is clapping.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's, would you say, carbon neutral? There's no
Exactly.
excess use of water. Water is
Yeah, talk us
recycled.
through what your.
Yeah, it's
the health of the
it's
soil.
It's a carbon hoarder.
Right.
Like a carbon guzzler is what I call it. It's using water that's being wasted. Maybe it's finding its own water, right? So ag water is a different level than potable, and there's tons of produced water coming up from oil wells here in Texas, in California, and the oil producing places in between that's being totally wasted.
So you can use that to
Yeah.
feed these super farms.
And then electricity that doubles back on itself, right? Where it may be off the grid completely,
Right.
Or at least it's neutral on the cost,
Right.
Right. We can make those pistachios cheaper, or
Right.
if we can get electricity down.
How
And plus, trust me, the whole Central Valley, or a lot of ag zones, they're running on diesel engines still.
Right.
It
so
may
that has to be eliminated at some point.
I guess so.
Ideally.
I think we do the world a favor if we move that to electric and move the electric to solar.
Right.
So
how far along the path of implementing these procedures and improvements are you?
I'm 2 years into being a GP for my own farm as opposed to an investor in somebody else's farm, and so I'm at the beginning, But I'm ramping up quick. I mean, it's hard to say.
You always do.
It's on internet time, right? But we built a pretty landmark company, I think, in 11 years, and it could have been faster. But
Right.
then I would have had some venture capitalists up my ass. I didn't want that.
Right.
And so here too, this is my own money. So far, I'm debt free, and if I take a loan, I do. But we're talking about 2,000 acres. 1,400 of it is all me, and then I have some neighbors for 600 acres.
Right.
But it's an immense amount of land.
Yes.
Right. And to have
How many tons do you produce a year, or how do you sell it to?
we
to
produced
wonderful
Our record year was last year was tough because of some
Weather
some
issues.
problems with weather, but we produced 1.1
pesky
million
weather.
pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
1.1 million.
Yeah, and
Pounds.
this year should easily be double that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot of
That's-
pistachios.
That's a lot of
It is
pistachios.
a lot of
And that's-
pistachios.
that's
Folks,
the
don't
dry
eat
weight.
that many. You'll get constipated or something else.
Yeah, that's dry weight. It'll the green weight is probably 4x that.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
You seem really enthused and excited. I'm glad that you found another passion. You know, a lot of times people sell their companies and they drift. They don't know what to do. They just go to the
Yeah, I mean,
the
in
Amalfi
my
Coast.
40s, I could do that. But I think I have a lot of ideas, and I guess I could produce a tech idea or AI idea. But I realized, especially this past weekend, I was really soul searching, and it kind of reconciled that the more we're talking about AI, the worse the taste in my mouth. And it's not the dystopia of
Orwell.
Terminator and Orwell. It's really like the Wall-E future, where we're just all fat, small-boned.
Yeah.
We don't care for human touch. We just want to masturbate in front of
Dehumanized.
this 2D screen.
And nobody has original ideas. They let the AI do the ideas.
Yeah, let the AI do it. And, I mean, let's face it, nobody had original ideas anyway. How many more police and medical shows do we need?
Right.
We've had Grey's Anatomy on for 20 years with the same people. It's just like
It's run its course. Yes.
Yeah, good luck. If no one wants those ideas. So,
We have a mutual friend, Olivia, and her husband, Emmanuel, are musicians, and we were talking about how I think there's going to be a revival of retro music and old-timey music, because so much is just going to be AI stuff, and people
what
are
do you
going to
mean?
want...
That's already there. I mean, let me ask you. There's definitely a few talking heads out there on this. One of whom I'd suggest for your podcast, and he talks about all the record companies and the investment into music. It's not into new music. It's into the big catalogs.
Right.
Whether it's Bruce Springsteen or the Stones or the Beatles or all of that. The money from private equity or from wherever pooled together to buy these big catalogs. Maybe the newest one is Justin Timberlake or Taylor Swift. But that's it. That's not new. There's the investment's already in the old music. We're done with new music,
Well, I'm saying instead of there won't be new music, it's just I think that the retro sound is going to make a comeback. There's always, if you look throughout history, it cycles.
I guess that's one of the other reasons. Like when I look at farming and agriculture, number one, there's an experience and lifestyle there. Of course, I can have a nice house on the farm and call that a second home or a vacation home. Or I can actually, which is what I am doing, start a boutique farm stay company, and have other people experience that. Because I feel like with AI and some of the just like people accelerating into this tech dystopia, there's gonna want to be a sentiment to hold on to,
No doubt.
to reality,
Authentic
Yes.
experiences.
and
And the ones that challenge you.
you look at the world and what can't be undermined by AI too much, and the things in the land, the things
Right.
with food, because they're very human.
Right.
The things dealing with raising other species,
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, the human mind is built on accepting a new challenge and being curious and asking questions and inquiring.
Yeah.
And the people that live the longest are the ones that keep asking questions and looking for answers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the oldest job, right?
Right.
It's the oldest industry, and
I thought it was something else.
not familiar.
Okay, no.
It's
But
the
yes,
oldest
I-
industry,
growing
but
food.
the newest ideas, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well, we have
excited
to.
by it. At least
For the planet, we have to.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when I look,
have
God
to
bless the
evolve.
people in their tech pursuits, but I didn't want to spend another 5 years innovating at the edge of something that, I had some breakthroughs, but I wasn't going to really affect things
Right.
that I want to, doing more of that.
Right.
And so this is me untrenching and then kind of
Right.
getting my fingernails dirty doing something
and
else
talking about looking to the
that
past.
has meaning to me.
Yeah. One tangential thought, looking at the past in terms of food, when we look at civilizations that flourished for, say, 900 years, like the Mayans, perhaps a little longer, in very hostile environments, without actual agriculture, to feed all those people for all those centuries. It's an amazing accomplishment of technological proportions. And we are, I think, at an inflection point on where we go to feed the world with luxury proteins that are affordable, that do not pollute.
Yeah, I mean, the word food, Fred, is
Food, yes.
the word food is a term of art, right?
doubt.
There's plenty of things you can put in your mouth, but food is very specific.
Correct. The Aztecs, how do they feel? Feed hundreds of thousands, perhaps several million, 2.5 million people.
Well, we know.
Waterways.
We know. We talked about that in the last podcast because Odysseus came and taught them how to do it.
The Greeks, yes, the Greeks came. They
Shameless self-promotion.
yes, they put
Everybody
their
drink.
stamp on that
That's
on the
another one of
Tenochtitlan pyramid, right? And that's where Topo Chico comes from, right?
I thought it came from the Coca-Cola factory.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's a perfect segue. So you've obviously done an amazing job fitting yourself into the modern economy. You took an awful setback in your dreams of being a Supreme Court judge.
I had a few setbacks, but
You've had
you
three
roll with it.
careers. You've had three separate careers. First, your legal
Yeah.
time, then
Wall Street?
I'd say Wall Street.
No,
and
4
tech.
careers because then you had FinTech and now the pistachios. But
right. Okay.
I want you to tell us a
little.
little bit about how you're giving back and just the genesis of the Emerging Collective, and just tell us a little bit all about that because I think it's really exciting.
Oh, sure.
Almost
I'll,
more exciting than everything we've talked about.
As I started traveling for work, especially, I didn't care much for Turks and Caicos and all the hot spots. It was much more about where is the furthest I can get from American capitalism. So, like Bombay or, places, Kuala Lumpur, Bogota,
Oak Cliff.
Mexico City.
I mean,
I don't know. That's the heart of capitalism now.
Now,
I get it.
Yeah, it's
Now.
really nice. So,
Yes.
the kind of developing world cities,
Right.
And the people I would meet there, especially going to art fairs, because I'm going to meet people that probably speak English and have a creative sensibility. They probably
Absolutely.
have some sort of tech skills that are, if they're doing art.
and the local flavor.
Exactly.
That is
local
what is
flavor
unique for each
plus more tech-driven concepts. And so I started thinking that's the kind of art that I really want to see more of. And whether it was art fairs in the States or just galleries, up and down Fifth Avenue, Soho, wherever, it's made for. I'm not sure, but it was we called it white walls, white wine, and white
Cheese. White cheese.
white people.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So it was kind of like.
that was a cheese.
And so there was, these new art cities really developing. Cluj,
Yes.
Romania, Sao Paulo, Mexico City.
Yeah.
And this was like in
And Mexico
2000.
City, to be fair, I mean, that's been there for centuries.
Sure,
The
yeah.
the native Mexican artists
I
from
mean,
different
now,
regions
now
are phenomenal.
that was 2010. Fast forward here 13 years
Yeah.
in, because of the pandemic, Mexico City's become, another borough of Manhattan, it feels like.
In some
I was
ways.
just there for Zona Maco. There was a way at the beginning to travel for these art fairs that I like doing and turn it into something substantive. And around 2014, we started making money from the tech company. And instead of buying some sort of congratulatory car or something obnoxious, I thought, let me start a nonprofit. And so
You did not get an Aston Martin then,
no, those things lose value like anything.
huh? See? Well said.
Well, real entrepreneurs do not do
course.
depreciating assets.
It's silly.
I don't do depreciating
Yeah.
assets.
No, because you don't have what I call the MAD syndrome, middle age delusional syndrome.
Oh, yeah,
Which
it's
is-
affluenza.
Affluence, which is part of the middle age crisis.
Yeah,
Type of thing.
I like cars. I have a couple nice cars that I like, but it's not really something that anyone would steal.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
So tell us how that grew, the collective.
We started doing exhibitions. We had our opening in Hong Kong at the Art Basel Hong Kong, Sao Paulo, New York, and a couple other places where the artists that we wanted to work with, we'd throw an exhibition with them, and then their set to go paintings or sculpture or other things that they created will become merch for the exhibition. And so that's been up in fits and starts. We had
Right.
an event last year at Dallas Art Fair.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was about the Venice Biennale and some of the global South
Right.
narratives going on there. And we had a live stream to the Biennale from the pavilion from Kenya. First time that they allowed that. So, it was really fun.
There's a combination of
And
your.
by the way, mine's coming up. I hear it on good advice from somebody. He's like, what?
Oh, you haven't seen his art. Fred has decided to become an artist, and he's actually developed a pretty cool style. Yeah.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
I used to
Dallas has a lot of artists as second career people.
We might have to do a podcast about local art.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We will.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
In any case, it's definitely something that I've contemplated doing more for. As just now, coming into the pistachio farm, I'm really scaling up. I'm not just an investor in someone else's farm. I really am getting my hands dirty and learning the business. On top of that, the boutique farm stay. So as I get that together, probably if we're lucky, then at the farm, we'll probably do something in art. Maybe
Right, yeah.
put
Local
a
art.
silo to use.
So the boutique farm experience is for people to go spend a few days, a week, and see what it's all about.
Exactly.
Kind of like the old
packaged-
dude ranch concept.
I'm not that familiar with that, but it would be
had
a
a horse.
ranch. It would be
Have you ever
a
seen the
ranch.
movie City Slickers?
Yeah.
That's a dude ranch.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Yeah, so it'd be a getaway, but make it a little more like glamping instead of camping, so luxury.
Right.
And then
Like luxury. I'm on the pistachio farm. Luxury.
some farms can be really beautiful.
Right,
People
yeah, of
think
course.
vineyards are the only beautiful thing.
Right.
And they're inundated, but Central Valley especially this year, my God, gentlemen, it is
Because of all the
stunning.
rain. Because
Is
of all
that
the rain,
close
right?
to Bakersfield or
Between Bakersfield and Sacramento.
beautiful?
Yeah,
So it's
and the
close.
agrotourism. If we do our job and increase agrotourism 5%, I think we really are going to be happy. But there's so much beauty there, and that's where
Right.
the food comes from.
And that would be great.
I think about a third
for
of the
schools.
American food supply comes from the Central Valley, and
Yeah.
and that's a start.
Wow.
I mean, let's see.
Say that statistic again.
A third?
1/3 of the food in the American food supply.
Comes from that valley where he is.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beyond. But and who are the people working there?
Well, it's
Mexicans.
Everybody drink. Fred just
My
brought that up
people.
again.
Mexicans.
I did read that out of 40 million people in California, 15 million are Mexican.
Yeah, at 41% of the population, to be exact.
Something like that.
And,
And the largest-
and some undocumented still.
Right. Some.
A large number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the labor force
Yeah.
cannot do it without my people.
For sure. Yeah. What would this country be without them?
Without Mexicans? Do you mean the neglected minority? Why do Mexicans matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say.
All right, Fred, go ahead and plug your book. Come on, and everybody
Spending my
drink.
time-
It's on
between-
Amazon. Look it up. Learn.
Don't be like that. No. I was living between Dallas and spending time in the Southwest. I do really appreciate. I feel like I live in a majority Latino place.
No doubt.
And sometimes I joke that we live in the north of Mexico. And
Well, technically,
yeah,
except for
Yes.
that one brief war, it is.
Yes.
or the most gringo cities in Mexico.
Yes.
Right.
L.A. and Dallas. So
No doubt. But anyways, I think it's an amazing journey that you're on, and when you think about it, you're not even at the halfway point of your life. So you've got still undiscovered Himalayas out there, or perhaps other horizons.
Yeah, I
in
think-
different fields that you haven't
I
even thought
definitely
of.
think I'm in this for a good long time, and I want to see it through. If Gavin Newsom comes to our farm, if the President of the United States, whoever that's going to be,
Right.
if they, we do have this Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of that's toward climate, and ag is a big focus. And so,
No doubt.
if we are a successful demonstration project, we should be. We're a commercial for their success. So,
Are you going to try to sell your processes, or what's your idea with that to get more
I
people to
think
do
it's
it?
to probably start a diversified agriculture fund and have people invest in that. You can see because of what's happening, there's so much bearishness on equities, and there's tons of interest in high single digits returns or low double digits returns. Well, we can provide that. We can provide tons of tax strategy
And shelters,
right?
yep.
Yeah, people that need to do a 1031 exchange, people that have tons of capital gains or a lot of income, doctors, basketball players that don't have a way to get a deduction at all
Yeah,
because
protect their asset.
all the salt
deductions,
deductions
Yeah.
So-
Deductions, yeah.
went away, and so I guess they're going to buy a warehouse maybe, but you can't spend that much time in a warehouse, or you could buy commercial real estate. Good luck with that.
Is it very high fertilizer?
It's decent on water, 3 acre feet per acre. It's not insane. Citrus is the same. And then fertilizer, it's not too high. No, I mean,
Yeah, because I really think that the American food production is going to, because we're seeing this disruptions because of the war in Ukraine and what's going on internationally, that fertilizer amounts have really dropped. And so a lot of countries that have been net food producers, or at least feeding themselves,
Yeah.
aren't going to be able to. And
No,
so
food security is so important, gentlemen. Food and
Right.
water. Now that the tech adventure has kind of subsided, I would say if I can turn my attention to something that's worth my time and worth a person of my caliber, then it's food and water security,
well,
decarbonization.
you've always had a knack since I've known you for being just ahead of trends. And so I think that you're going to hit a home run with this as well, because I really do think that food prices we're going to have inflation like we haven't seen in a long time for a lot of demographic
I'm not
reasons.
sure. I'm not sure. We'll see.
This is, you know me, I always throw the things out there, but I think that
But
you're
good food,
Right.
good food is not cheap, right? You go to the produce aisle, again, food with a capital F. I told you, that's a term of art.
right.
Right.
There's tons of things made of corn and soybeans and wheat, the subsidized industries by the government.
Which is your favorite for people to eat, right?
Yeah.
Or the opposite.
The opposite.
Yeah,
of course.
Right.
what I'll call them is wasted carbs,
Yeah.
right? But really, high level protein, produce, the stuff that decays if you leave it. That's where we want to eat. That's real food.
That's the nourishment, as opposed to us being corn people.
Yeah,
Most
nourishment.
of our corn sources.
Yeah.
Those are nourishments because they're rich in their
Yeah,
micronutrients,
Yeah,
macronutrients as well.
You could watch past episodes for that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I was going to say, you were just quoting past episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I did my research.
Yeah, well, you always do.
Well, we try to, get our message out. Live healthy. Always be thinking. Always be asking questions. Always be discovering. That's the best for a human being in terms of the happiness quotient of dopamine that we need.
Yeah, serotonin, dopamine,
Well,
all that stuff.
Yeah,
I
when you
took
go to your farm, I can
outside.
assure you, your dopamine level goes up collectively and stays there. Your tonic production, meaning that second by second. And so a little bit of sunshine gives you a little extra high. And
Yeah.
you don't get low. So your anxiety, depression, your tendency for substance abuse and other bad behaviors diminishes. There's no need because you're getting the natural high.
No, I mean, the ag
From what
life
you're
got a
doing.
huge shot in the arm from the pandemic.
Yeah.
People want that bucolic bliss. So, are they going to buy a farm? Are they going to really run it? Are they going to have that as a side hustle? Probably not.
Right.
And so,
but they can buy a bag of your pistachios and put it in their salad and
maybe that's a stretch, but I'll say that they can spend a weekend with us or during the week for work from home single people, and you've got it's
a full experience.
The shop's called Farm Club. That's
Farm
the name
Club.
of the
So
new-
if someone wants to come, how can they book a day? If one of our viewers wants to come book a weekend?
we're not quite ready for
Okay.
that. Probably by end of the year we will. Toward the harvest, we're hoping for.
All right, we'll have you back then when you can
Yeah.
give the details.
Yeah, farmclub.ag, farmclub.ag. That's how you
Wonderful.
reach us.
Well, it's been wonderful having you on here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
As well, and to the benefits of pistachios for all to enjoy.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Oh,
Thank you.
It was our pleasure. And once again, this is the Leverage Podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please follow us, like us, subscribe on YouTube. You can rate us on Spotify. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Did I forget any of them?
I don't think so. I think you got all of them.
Thank you guys for watching us again. All right.
Thank you again.
Take care.